And, you know, at some levels of government, this is controversial and is dragged out for years and years at the federal level. The state does a pretty good job, but sometimes they have to have a special session. The city has always done a great job. And so we, for the numerous time in a dozen years, we got our budget done on time. So we've been doing this since before I got here, but it's continued. And with our help from our counselors behind us and our budget staff, we have a balanced budget, number one, but we also have a budget supplemented by the American Rescue Plan Act. And so we're also going to celebrate the signing of that today too. And as a reminder, the way this works is, you know, the starting place is usually submitted by the administration, and then council is the appropriating body, the legislative branch, and they hash it up and then send it back up. And in this case, I'm excited to be able to sign this with no line item vetoes either. So yeah, we're looking good. The true one Albuquerque spirit here. So we'll hear a couple of speakers. I know we're joined actually by 3 counselors, but let me just introduce our committee of the whole chair, the woman who puts this all together, Clarissa Pena. Well timed. And the president of our council, leading the whole show, Cynthia Borrego. And our counselor for downtown, Counselor Ike Benton. And we also have, of course, our budget team. So we've got our budget officer, Lawrence Davis, CFO, Sanjay Bhakta, and Renee Martinez, our finance director. Great job. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what's inside this, and then we'll go ahead and do some signing. But I think as a reminder, you know, Albuquerque stands together when it comes to building a stronger, safer city. And you see that in the unity and the votes with which these 2 pieces of legislation were passed. And for us, I'm proud to be signing this budget and the American Rescue Plan because inside it prioritizes public safety, it prioritizes housing, something desperately needed, also prioritizes economic development and building for the recovery. And so in total, it invests about $1.2 billion in a safer, stronger, more resilient Albuquerque. And you know, we had some discussion earlier today about, you know, well, should we have a budget signing? Well, the answer is, look, when you're allocating $1.2 billion of all of our taxpayer money, it absolutely deserves the respect and acknowledgement of the hard work that went into it and the hope and optimism of what those dollars can do for our community. So we did notice coming out of the pandemic what we learned in the pandemic, and we saw that coming out of this long and difficult road, we've got to support a lot of different things at a lot of different levels. But number one is we have to continue to support our small businesses. We're going to hear a little bit about that. $8 million in grants, $6 million in LEDA, some other funding actually for our Metropolitan Redevelopment Program to do things like buy Gizmo and hopefully redevelop it. And so we also saw that we've got to continue to fully staff the city. So we had to appropriately budget for all of the positions, from public safety to police to planning to everything else in between. And also wonderfully, we were able to reward workers with a 3% raise. Something that, again, when we came in, we were about 10 years behind on cost of living adjustments, and we have slowly begun to catch up on that. A couple of other projects that I want to highlight. Safety downtown, we are adding $1 million worth of lights downtown in Albuquerque. This is on top of the streetlights that we're adding in the International District, on top of the streetlights that we're adding out in the Southwest Mesa, and also in Wells Park area. Details on Wells Park will be coming in the next few weeks, but right now we are investing in lighting all over the city. 1, because it's needed. 2, because it keeps us safer, both cars, pedestrians, and of course reduces crime. A lot of the lighting around downtown is going to be focused on that, actually the alleys and the side streets, because that's where a lot of the criminal activity's been occurring. It also includes ShotSpotter. So this again is our gunshot detection program. It's piloted in 3 parts of the city, including downtown. This funding is going to allow us to almost double the footprint of ShotSpotter. Another program that most cities had a decade ago, but we are playing catch up on, and it helps everything that we do with respect to prosecution and also just trying to keep folks who literally are shooting behind bars. So this is on top of a lot of other things, but also in here, our community safety department. So true to council's word, they wanted us to build for a year, plan, explore, meet with the community. We did that. And the department's reward was $7.7 million to go out and hire some social workers. So we are going to have roughly 40 or so social workers and a fully funded department, hopefully up and running late this fall, early this winter. Lastly, let me just touch on a little bit with respect to some of the public health and safety net initiatives. We've got obviously historic investments in our Gateway Center. So there is lots of funding to make that a reality, both from rehabbing it to figuring out how to staff it and coordinate with all our nonprofit providers for mental health, substance abuse, domestic violence, and even neglected and abused youth programming. So these are all things that are inside one of these two bills, on top of fully funding our summer programs and our Head Start programs. And so for us, we feel that we are in a good position for the next year financially, and we appreciate everyone who's done a lot of hard work to make that a possibility. So let's start with our Council President, Cynthia Borrego. President?
Good afternoon, everyone. And, you know, it's a really delight to be here and to be working so closely with the mayor on this budget to ensure to the public that we are meeting the requirements of both the city charter and the mayor's responsibilities. I think what's really important is that people know that we're coming out of this pandemic, and we're coming out, we went in it together kind of unexpectedly, but we're coming out of it together. And it's really nice to, even though there's a lot of noise behind us, it's good to know that there's people out and about, that there's more tourists coming to Albuquerque and New Mexico. We were just talking about that with our finance director. And I think that what we're starting to see is we're starting to see people spending money in our city and in our state. And those are really, really critical things, because when it comes to our budget, actually our budget is very dependent on gross receipts taxes. And so those are important issues. But the other thing that's really important is that we also received funding from the federal government, as the mayor mentioned. And that funding is also being distributed as part of this budget. I'm happy to say to my district is that we have money in there for Cibola Loop and for our multi-generational center. I'm also excited to say that I was able to get an amendment passed for the APD crimes against children in the amount of $37,000 in addition to the $100,000 that they will be receiving. In addition to that, what's really important for our small businesses, as I mentioned, is we're having more and more people coming out of this pandemic, is that we have $8 million in grants available. And that money is key to helping jumpstart our businesses again and getting people back to work. So I just want to recognize our COW chair, Councilor Clarissa Pena, who worked closely with the mayor and myself and all of our councilors. And I think that we are at a day today when we really are, you know, celebrating a little bit for a change. And it's really great to push this budget forward and to have the mayor sign it. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your support also of our amendments and your patience.
Thank you so much, Councilor, and a good follow-on. The funding for, public safety is. Look, this is for more homicide detectives. It's for more domestic violence folks who work in that, for more individuals at our Family Advocacy Center. It's even for more individuals who work in our violence intervention program. And so we're committed to try and make sure that we're adding the resources where we need it all across the city. And key to that is a chairwoman of the Committee of the Whole to shepherd us through that process, Clarissa Pena.
Thank you. You can hardly hearing backwards, so I was trying to listen to everything he was saying. But first, I just want to say, I want to thank the mayor's budget staff. They just did an outstanding job. Working through two major budgets this go around, almost back to back, was pretty intense. And just knowing that what this council wanted to accomplish, and working with the budget staff, with some of the concerns they had, we were able to make some necessary adjustments. So I appreciate them. And then I also want to say that I appreciate our council staff, Ms. Stephanie Yara, who just moved on to another job, but she just did a phenomenal job. Jesse, all our council staff, just appreciate all their work. It becomes very intense when we're trying to get this accomplished. And then obviously I want to thank my colleagues on council, because it takes several votes to get a budget passed. And I think we did an awesome job this year. There's a huge emphasis on public safety. There's a huge emphasis on community investment. And community investment are some of the items that the mayor talked about the triage center and other things that are really going to help with some of the underlying issues that we have in our community, from addiction to substance abuse, mental health issues. So those are two important components of a budget. And then we also did some fun things like adding community enhancement projects. Everyone wants to get back on track, wants to get out, wants to start visiting with their neighbors, attending events. So we really put an emphasis on making sure that we gear up and we're ready to have these events in our community. And then also, I just want to say that, the mayor talked about the shot spotter. That's one thing that I've been advocating for at Santa Fe for my district in particular. It's just, I think a great crime fighting tool. It doesn't necessarily, if somebody shoots and, you don't go out and apprehend somebody, but it's a great tool in figuring out the pieces of the puzzle to make sure that we do get those dots connected. And then lastly, I just want to thank the mayor. He's just been really great to work with on the budget cycle. As I said earlier, it's hard sometimes when we're trying to accomplish something, but to have someone who is ready to listen and willing to listen to the needs, not of just all 9 councilors, but of the constituency, I really appreciate. So thank you.
All right. Well, if folks, I know that it's starting to rain, which is awesome. If you want to huddle under or stay, whatever you want, but we are under a roof, so we can do this. But thank you so much to council as well, and I appreciate the kind words from Carissa Pena. And this really is a team effort. I think a good example of how Albuquerque does come together to do what we got to do as government officials. And Councilor Bennett's your district. Do you want to add anything?
No, thanks. It's great to be downtown.
Nice. Downtown is coming back to life. So with that, let's do, I think what we'll do is take a couple of questions while I get our legislation out, and then we'll have fun signing. So Alicia or Jessica, you're the only one here.
Yeah. So one of the criticisms, I know Councilor Davis voted against this at the city council because he said he didn't feel there was enough public input into deciding how to spend the federal money. Do you think there was enough public input? And could you explain the public input process or what your administration did as you kind of created the blueprint for this money?
Sure. We, for the stimulus funding, we didn't have a lot of time. So, I think the reality is you get the check. I think we got it on May 15th, and we had about 2 weeks to put it together. So the reality is, when you get federal money like that, the most important thing is to get it in the system. And so we did that. And council had all the appropriate public input processes, committee hearings and council meetings. And so I think actually, compared to a lot of other cities, that was relatively smoothly. And frankly, council did a great job of gathering together as much as we could given the short time frame. And I think our city has demonstrated that, we don't want to leave money left on the table. And so we have lots of needs, and it's just a question of the order in which we address those needs. That's really all we were ever debating anyway. We have a huge list of needs. So that's why these programs are mostly already in the can, and so it's just picking which ones we want to do. Okay, all right, great. So if you guys want for a nice photo, if you want to scoot in, Or Danielle, you can kind of tell us what to do. I'm going to turn off the mic just so we're not like. Let's see. I have. Who all wants pens? Because I have paper.
You guys are too humble.
Okay. All right. And what's today's date?
1st of June.
Oh, wow. Here we go. All right. Okay, so there's one. It's a good sign when we have to get some more of these pens. It means we're actually doing legislation.
We got
Lord, this is Lawrence's first budget, isn't it? So Lawrence should get one. All right, let's see here. Now wait, are there? Okay, you guys got to make sure I'm signing the right stuff here. What did I just? I got this one.
We always say the budget, the first one, right?
What was the first one?
The ARPA.
Did I put it underneath? Let's see. There we go. Okay. Let me give you the official one so we don't have to reprint everything. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Last one. Okay, congrats everybody. Good job.
Thank you.
Last one. All right, official one. There we go. Here's these if you want them.
That was your budget.